Signore e signori, buongiorno, è il comandante che parla. Volevo salutarvi e darvi il benvenuto a bordo di questo volo ITA Airways A330-900 diretto a New York, aeroporto di JFK.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard ITA Airways, Italy's national airline and the reincarnation of ill-fated Alitalia. In addition to fresh funding, they've also got some fresh new planes that might just be the best way to travel between the US and Italy. Say hello to Lorenzo Bernardi, a 1-month-old A330-900neo. It's about to take us 4,200 miles across the Atlantic from Rome to New York. Get ready, because what you're about to see is not only one of the sexiest new cabins in the sky, but one of the most uniquely Italian experiences you'll find outside of a gondola in Venice. Ferrari, lavazza, cannelloni, ravioli, and prosciutto are all present on board, and so is the characteristic Italian hospitality. They say Italians are some of the most warm and welcoming people on the planet, and I can't say I disagree. To all the passengers, pilots, pursers, and plane lovers out there, welcome to YouTube's very first review of the new ITA Airways business class cabin. Good morning and welcome to the Hilton Rome Airport. It's about 7:30 a.m. and we're packing up the final items before commencing the 10-minute walk to the terminal. Our stay here was a short one, as we arrived only 10 hours earlier on ITA 207 from London Heathrow. They gave us just enough time to sleep and work out before it was time to resume our journey. Rome Airport is a bit of an enigma. It's beautiful and modern thanks to a recent €800 million overhaul. Rome Fiumicino. This airport is really cool. They keep bragging about how it was voted one of the best airports, if not the best airport in Europe. It's probably rigged, but I can see why. But it's also a behemoth of an airport serving 100+ airlines, and the layout is not exactly intuitive. ITA's check-in desks are located in Terminal 1, which serves domestic and Schengen area flights, but the US-bound ITA flights depart from the E-gates, which are nearest Terminal 3. So if you're flying ITA to the US, be prepared to get some steps in once you clear security. Anyways, backdrop was a breeze, and by 8 a.m. we had our boarding pass in hand. Now it is now 8 a.m. Flight's originally supposed to depart at 10:10. It was delayed at least an hour and 10 minutes. Inbound flight from Delhi, India was delayed, so not the greatest, but it'll give us a little more time in the lounge to get some work done back in for Lima, but this time we're on the brand new A330-900neo, which is super exciting. So pumped to check out that new plane. I think ITA only has a couple so far. It's a rare bird. It's a new one, new seat. Hopefully the Wi-Fi works. Daytime transatlantic flight. Hopefully get some work done, but let's get through security and get to this lounge. All right, we are through security. That was an absolute breeze. Now we just gotta find our way over to the ITA Lounge, which I believe is at the E-gates, conveniently located to where we're supposed to depart from, obviously. But wow, this right where it spits you out post-security is super cool. Got calming music, great views, live piano going on, very civilized. So that makes zero sense. So the US security lane is that away behind me, and all the US bound flights, I believe, depart from the E-gates, which it says is a 5 to 17 minute walk. But I was totally down for the step, so I certainly wasn't complaining. And we're back at the Piazza di Spagna Lounge. Let's see how it is. Piazza di Spagna is one of 3 ITA lounges at Fiumicino, and as far as I can tell, it's the nicest of the 3. Piazza del Popolo is also accessible to international non-Schengen area passengers, but it's smaller, less convenient to the US gates, and has more limited hours. For those of you who are curious, Piazza di Spagna is one of the most well-known squares in Rome. It's at the base of the Spanish Steps, and it offers a stunning view of the Trinità dei Monti Church. So with that context, I have high expectations for the grandeur of this lounge. But I'll cut to the chase. The highlights of this lounge are the food and the coffee, in my opinion. The buffet spread is robust. We got pastries, cereals, yogurt, fruit, as well as some hot options including eggs, bacon, potatoes, and even green beans. Notably missing from the scene are cold cuts, however. We'll let it slide because they've got barista-made espresso, and it's legit. A nice jolt of caffeine plus a high-top makeshift standing desk was the perfect recipe for productivity, and I absolutely plowed through some work for the next 2 hours. Around 10 a.m. I packed everything up and headed out to get some steps before boarding. Our gate today was E15, no more than a 3-minute walk from the lounge. Upon arrival, we find our ride for today, Echo India Hotel Juliet Papa, a 1-month-old Airbus A330-900neo that first flew in mid-July 2023 and was delivered to ITA only 2 weeks before my flight. She came in as ITA 769 from Delhi and landed a little over an hour late, so that's why we were delayed to NYC. About 10:20 right now. Boarding was supposed to occur at 10:15, so not necessarily alarmed just yet. And it looks like they're servicing the plane and everything seems to be progressing, but there's been no announcement or anything about the delaying of boarding. The flight, as I mentioned, is already delayed. It was supposed to take off, or supposed to depart at 10:10, then they pushed it to 11:20. When I checked in, they said it would board around 10:10. The screen right now says 10:15. It's 10:20. People are obviously queuing up right now. I haven't eaten yet today. I was just pounding espresso in the lounge. Got some goodies in case the in-flight meal isn't sufficient, which I'm sure it will be, but if not, always gotta have a backup plan. Probably like an 8.5, 9-hour flight, so fairly lengthy over to New York today. Eat and work is the plan, and hopefully we get this guy boarded on time and over to New York. Boarding ultimately commenced around 10:50. There was a little bit of a false alarm as the plane wasn't actually ready, so we were forced to wait in the jet bridge for another 20 minutes. At least we had solid views of Lorenzo while we waited though. Yes, that's right, our plane has a name. Finally, at 11:15, we got the thumbs up to continue our march towards door L2, and I could barely contain myself. As we got closer and closer, that beastly Trent 7000 came into focus, as well as the gorgeous metallic blue livery. If you've seen the Italian national team compete in the Olympics or World Cup, you'd recognize this color for sure. No offense to Nico Barella, but I think Azzurro looks better on a plane than a person.
Just to the cabin, you're right? Got the space.
And turning left, we find an absolutely jaw-dropping 30-seat business class cabin. Sweet. ITA went with more neutral, calming colors in the exterior of this plane, thank God, and the beige leather screams timeless luxury in my opinion. And these are the tried and true Thompson Vantage XL seats, which can also be found in the likes of SAS, Qantas, and Delta. ITA of course has the latest and greatest iteration of the seat with some cool customizations, such as this patterned accent light. ITA also opted for the cathedral ceilings with no center overhead bins, which makes the cabin feel tremendously open and spacious. Waiting in each seat were a slew of goodies, including a pillow, comforter, slippers, and amenity kit, as well as a completely separate lotions and potions kit from QC Terme, which is an upscale Italian spa and wellness brand. Then of course you have your menus, which tease the tantalizing tastes that await us. There's a food and beverage menu and then a whole separate wine menu for those of you who care about the organoleptic characteristics of the 5 bottles they have on board. But more on the caloric intake later.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome on board this ITA Airways flight to New York. To speed up boarding operations, seat kindly inform you that the overhead compartments are reserved for toilets and bathrooms only. Please place all other personal belongings and small baggage under the seat in front of you. Thank you.
11:45, just over an hour and a half late, we pushed back and commenced our roughly 15-minute taxi to runway 25. Our route for today would take us just north of Corsica, then over France until we hit open water. We wouldn't see land again until Cape Cod, at which point we'd pretty much follow the coastline down over Long Island and into JFK. Flying time today would be a lengthy 9 hours and 23 minutes at a cruising altitude of 36, 38, then 40,000 feet. Time to power up those big old Trent 7Ks.
Including the lavatories, which are equipped with smoke detectors.
And as we taxi out, I'll give the floor to El Capitan.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Maurizio Totteri, I'm the captain of your flight. On behalf of ITA Airways and my whole crew, I'd like to welcome on board this flight, connecting Rome, Fiumicino to New York Kennedy. First of all, I'd like to apologize about this delayed departure, mainly due to technical inspection on this aircraft. We tried to make up this delay once in flight, but we are now on number 7 in takeoff sequence, so it takes about 10 minutes more. The flight time to New York today will be around 9 hours 20 minutes. Weather on the route is gonna be clear and fair, just light turbulence probably after 2 hours from our takeoff, and during our descent approaching New York Kennedy. Hope you enjoy the flight. This is Onboard America. Thank you.
After a beautiful departure due west over the Mediterranean, I closed the window shade and messed around with the IFE while the crew began prepping for the meal service. You already know what the first stop's going to be. Let's see if this moving map works or not. This was a huge upgrade over the IFE on the old Alitalia A330s, which continued to serve New York alongside these Neos. So yeah, the map was great, the screen was crystal clear and responsive, and the movie selection was adequate, but nowhere near what you'd find on Emirates, Qatar, or Singapore. And they do got Monopoly though. You will find noise-canceling headphones, although there's certainly no Bose, B&O, or Sony. Mine started producing a high-pitched screeching noise in one ear, so I switched to my own to watch Horrible Bosses. But pretty soon it was time for what I'd consider to be the highlight of this flight, and that is the food. Service started with a hot towel, and that was quickly followed by the presentation of a nice, well-laundered white tablecloth. I mean, look at this thing, it's got creases in all the right places. For the appetizer, I went with the citrus lobster salad. It was presented in a tartare-like form alongside some dollops of yogurt and a citronette dressing. Absolutely delicious. Really solid. Good dish to awaken the palate for what's coming. I tried to savor it as best I could, but it didn't last long. I wish you could smell the cabin right now. It's absolutely heavenly. It must have been the cannelloni, which arrived seconds later.
Yeah, we also.
Now, I'm not at all a pasta connoisseur because I'm mostly gluten-free, but this tastes pretty darn good. So ITA's 2 for 2 so far. Let's see how the main is. I went with the fish, which I had high expectations for given the description. First impressions were quite good. My fork glided through the first piece like butter, and the resulting first bite was a perfect blend of meat and sauce. Now, once I got to the middle, it was a little dry, but nothing a little salt couldn't solve. And overall, I'd say this is the best fish I've had on a plane. And this presentation feels the most restaurant-esque of any airline I've flown. Here's the damaged post-main course. Now note there are 2 empty plates here. That's because Antonio, the cabin crew working my aisle, hooked me up with the second portion of the lobster salad.
Sure, I'd love more. Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
When we just got me some more lobster, I just asked what it was because I've never seen lobster like this before, but got a second helping. Also, you guys may or may not care, but I thought this was pretty cool.
Sir, something else? Coffee, tea?
What is for dessert? Do you got dessert?
Yeah, just going to dessert?
Yeah. Do you have any fruit or cheese or anything?
Yeah, you have a fruit and also we have a mix of cheese.
Can I do the fruit and the cheese if you have them?
Fruit and the cheese?
Fruit and cheese, yeah.
Yeah, great.
Thank you.
Sir.
Amazing.
Cheese. Great.
Grazie
Enjoy.
mille.
The cheese comes with some honey, some sweetness to it. Oh yeah, that's dangerous. So, upon completion of the meal service, just for documentation purposes, we are, yeah, I butchered the names of some French cities pretty badly here, so I'll spare you guys. but we had about 7 hours to go, which means the meal service took about 1.5 hours total. At this point, the plan was to pop open the laptop, log onto the Wi-Fi, and get some work done. But first, let's take a quick tour of the seat. So, off to the left, you'll find one of 2 sets of seat and lighting controls. This one is best access in bed mode, while the other one is best access while sitting upright. Storage space is sufficient, I'd say. You've got a fairly sizable side table, as well as a more secure gated area where I found the headphones, as well as a small water bottle. Of course, power outlets are available, as well as a USB-C and USB 3 port, so your devices won't run out of juice as long as you show up with the charger. The tray table is sturdy and sizable, although you're pretty much trapped during the meal service. There's no way to get out into the aisle unless you stow it away completely. The lighting options are plentiful. You've got your overhead light, as well as accent light and a reading light with multiple brightness settings. Now, sadly there aren't any individual air vents like you'll find on the A330-200s, but the cabin was kept at a reasonable temp, so it wasn't really an issue. The last thing I'll mention is the bed. Although I didn't get to try it during this daytime flight, ITA advertised it as being 76 inches or 6 feet 4 inches. The seat itself is plenty wide, and I'd imagine it would make a good mattress, but the footwell might be a little restrictive to us colorful. Alright, with that out of the way, let's move into phase 2 of this flight, which is productivity mode. Now this might be a controversial opinion, but I think the ITA A330-900neo beats out the American flagship first experience as the best office in the sky. The combination of strong and stable Wi-Fi and tasty caffeine, aka espresso, made this flight about the closest I've ever come to monk mode. The jaw-dropping views framed by our massive power plants. Pretty soon, the combination of caffeine and my small bladder caught up to me, and I went on a lavatory exploration mission.
And, you know, it's not in perfect condition, but it's not trashed yet either, which is good. It's spacious, got some mood lighting. Obviously a new aircraft.
Now this seems to be the only dedicated business class lavatory right behind the cockpit and near door L1. There are 2 others behind door L2 that are shared with the 24-seat premium economy cabin. No real special amenities in here, although the trash bin does have a little foot pedal for all you germaphobes out there. Now if you're in economy, you'll have a choice between 7 lavatories. The one I checked out near the rear galley was a teeny bit smaller in my estimation, and it was a little grimier, probably due to more usage throughout the flight. Now I wasn't able to get a ton of footage of the economy and premium economy cabins themselves, but if you're curious, I encourage you to check out CFU YouTube's video of the inaugural flight to DC, in which he literally seems to be the first passenger to ever use the IFE screen. Anyways, back in the business class cabin, people are waking up from their slumbers and the crew has brought up the lights slightly for the pre-arrival meal service. At this point, we're about an hour and 30 minutes out of New York, but no sign of land yet.
There we are, sir.
Something to drink, some orange juice, water, Coke.
Can I try the Prosecco?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that'd be great. So there's only one choice for the pre-arrival meal. It was an Italian tasting board consisting of ham, battered courgette, mozzarella, a fruit cup, and some bread. As you guys heard, I also ordered a glass of the Ferrari Prosecco, which turned out to be the entire bottle. And no, I didn't drink the entire bottle. But Antonio saw I was filming and insisted on leaving me with the bottle so I could get some artsy shots.
Looks like you popped the bottle just for me. I feel special. Didn't have to do that.
It was some solid Prosecco, but I limited myself to 1 glass, and it went really nicely with the meat and cheese, which are amazing, by the way.
Some dang good mozzarella.
The fried courgette thingy was a bit on the soggy side, unfortunately, and highly glutinous, so I didn't have much of it. Upon completion of the second meal, we were about an hour out, and I decided to take a quick stretch in the galley, and then sample one last beverage before we landed.
Yo, trying the herbal tea they got on offer. It's called Relax. I think I had this on the way out too. It's pretty good. Good way to celebrate our arrival into New York. It is right now coming up on 8:34 p.m. Rome time, 2:34 p.m. New York time. So body is going to be quite confused per usual. Probably the best way to mitigate all the stressors of the past 9 hours is a little bit of herbal tea.
And it most certainly hit the spot. Let's kick this thing back and then track our approach and landing into runway 4 right at JFK.
Airways SkyTeam partner is pleased to welcome you to New York on time at 3:30 p.m. local time. You may now switch on your mobile telephone. For your safety, please remain seated with your seatbelts fastened until the sign has been turned off. We recommend you open the overhead lockers carefully as items may fall out. And please do not forget any personal belongings in the seat pocket in front of you. Thank you for flying with ITA Airways, and we look forward to seeing you again on board in the very near future. Arrivederci.
And just like that, boy, that flight went way too fast. Here we are pulling up to gate 6 at JFK's Terminal 1, and the dread of having to leave this incredible cabin is starting to set in. As we pack up and begrudgingly leave this bird, let's hit a quick recap of the ITA A330-900neo business class experience. Now, of course, in my opinion, everything should be evaluated in the context of cost. And on that front, I was very lucky to snag this ticket for under $1,600 round trip. It was a strange, circuitous routing to be sure, taking me from New York to London Heathrow via Rome. But I had a lie-flat bed on 3 of the 4 legs and got to experience a smattering of old and new planes from the ex-Alitalia A330 Classic to the ITA A330-900neo and A320neo. But we definitely saved the best for last, this 9.5-hour flight on the fresh Neo. Now, despite the awesome seat, tasty food, and warm service, it wasn't perfect. The flight was delayed by almost 2 hours. The boarding process was extremely disorganized. They ran out of some menu choices by the time they reached my row, which was halfway through the cabin. And even though the service was very well intentioned, it was a little head-scratching at times. For example, I was proactively asked if I wanted a drink mid-flight, which was great, but then it never got delivered. But those are small things in my opinion. It was overall incredible value for the money. Where I think ITA will continue to struggle for the foreseeable future is product consistency, and then living in sort of a no man's land with respect to airline partners and mileage programs. Even though they're a SkyTeam partner, I wasn't able to credit those miles to my Delta SkyMiles account. That makes it just a little harder to justify flying ITA since the points can't be used to help me earn elite status with an airline or alliance I fly often. However, it was totally worth it for the novelty of ITA, and I hope you enjoyed coming along with me today. Wherever your journeys take you, safe travels, and arrivederci from New York. Oh boy, check out this view. Holy moly, the whale.